Hey everybody, it's Clip again, and we are going to be going through the lesson 2, body number 3, which is the emotional body. That's the number 3. If you haven't yet caught 1 and 2, which is your physical body and your conscious body, I do definitely recommend that you go and have a look at that as soon as you possibly can. And I want to not have this tangled. I just want to remind those of you who are watching, if you have not dropped anything, if you do not have your pendulum with you right now, and if you don't know what a pendulum is, please watch my other videos, which is basically your pendulum and what it's going to do for you and how to program it and everything. So I want you to go get your pendulum. Again, our abilities and who we are, really we need to work it like a muscle. So the more you can use this, the more you practice, the better it's going to be. So again, program your pendulum, get your pendulum up, and I want you to hold it up, and when you come across a point that maybe confuses you or that you're unsure about, or if you're like, really, is this really real? I want you to hold your pendulum up, and I want you to ask if the information that you've heard is true today. And if it is, it's going to swing back and forth like it is doing with me, or it's going to give you the yes answer that you have programmed it to give you. So again, for me, mine is my yes answers when it goes back and forth directly away from me and goes side to side when it's a no. I do remember these things, I promise. Just as another quick tip, if your power is a little bit low at the moment, or your energy, shall I say, and it takes a long time to build some momentum, simply pause the video, and I want you to give your pendulum a little momentum. You can start spinning it in a clockwise motion, and then when you say, please give me a yes answer, it will then divert its course a lot faster. And again, you can just set it off as a nice circular motion to reset it, and then you could say, well, can you give me a no answer as well? And it's going to immediately start to swing in your no answer. Okay, so again, verify my words with this and start using this to verify other words that you hear within your life, so that you can again figure out what's true and what's not. Okay, so your emotional body, and I'm going to again be using some of my notes here to keep me on track so I don't ramble too much. Alrighty, so what are the do's of your emotional body, or how do you care for it, or what is your emotional body? Now, I did have this in the original video there, and in basically part 1 of lesson 2, and but we'll recap. Your emotional body is basically in charge of your emotions. So it's what makes you cry at the Lion King when Mufasa dies. It's what makes you burst out laughing in inappropriate situations because you have a certain weird bit of joy and you're like, wow, that was weird. And it's a lot of the times, or it's your emotional body is literally in charge of you crying when you don't know why as well. So a lot of, again, ladies, we go through it a lot, but normally once a month we go through a little bit of a with our emotional body when we're on our cycle or when we're on our flow, right? So this is what you need to do in order to keep your emotional body in check, so that it does not take over in situations where it is not necessary or not beneficial to you. So firstly, number 1 in caring for your emotional body, you need to process all of your feelings right there at that time. Do not bottle up anything. As your emotional body, although it can be controlled very easily when you know what you're doing, but it's a force of energy that causes a physical reaction in your physical body where you're going to feel it. So although it can be controlled, when it's not controlled, it can be exhausting. So, and to do that though, when you have a feeling, so this may be a feeling where something was said to you and it kind of hurt you a little bit, and you know where you get the little deepness in your chest, and you feel a little tingly go up there, and it's kind of like, oh, that made me feel uncomfortable, and then it travels in your face, and then all of a sudden your mouth starts to kind of like quiver a little bit, and you can feel the tears coming out of your eyes. This feeling, this feeling of sadness is sometimes really uncontrollable, and if you don't just let it all go, because we're always holding back, we're tensing when this happens, and we don't let it out. We're always ashamed, and we wipe it away, and we try to stop it as soon as possible. But what we're doing, though, is all we're doing is this energy that we have that has been created by our emotional body is trying to be pushed out, and it's coming out in the form of tears and quivering. And if you stop that energy, it just builds up. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so again, just putting this out there, do not suppress feelings, process them as soon as possible, ASAP, to help your energy flow. Because again, like, if you feel that you have to cry or be sad, just do it. If you don't like the company you're in as you are doing it, excuse yourself just for a moment. But you need to go and just let the physical energy out, because it literally whirls up like a little bit of a storm. So again, if your eyes, and this is a teardrop. Okay, so if this is your eyes and this is emotional energy right here, if you stop it, this emotional energy, oops, why can I not play? This emotional energy right now is just trickling out, and that's welling. But the longer you wait, that just gets bigger, and this just gets bigger, and the pressure that you're having with this energy that just keeps building and building and building behind your eyes, it's going to cause stress. It's going to cause a lot more pain than it is good. And it's going to also, because your body is then under stress, you're not going to be able to think clearly. And if you can't think clearly, you can't assess the situation that caused you to tear up and well up in the first place. And if you can't assess that situation, it means you're not in control. And if you're not in control, you can't predict the outcome of your life. And bad decisions can be made at that point. That's where people snap at the ones they love and cause like hurt and pain, and then they're like, oh, I didn't mean it. When they've calmed down and thought rationally, they're like, I didn't mean it. And it's because we are blocking this up. Guys, men, we have a real big problem with this, but it's not your fault. It was programmed into you from a really young age, and continuously as we're growing, like that bottling up of the emotions. And that energy, like I mentioned, it doesn't go. It may calm itself, but it doesn't go. It will come out through another avenue. So if you don't process that emotion, it will literally bugger you up. Okay. So that is number one, and I tried not to ramble, but I ended up rambling anyway. Okay. Number 2 is express yourself. Using positive outlets. Now, a lot of the times, our emotional body, if it's triggered, you need to express it. Now, that can definitely go in to the form of, if it's sadness, that you are expressing yourself by crying, having a good cry, and you're kind of getting it out there. But then after you've had that good cry, maybe you're like, you know what, I want to paint, or I want to bake, or you want to channel your emotional body, that energy that is created, into a positive outlet. Because if you are channeling into a negative outlet, it's not going to be beneficial for you, because again, it's a lot of energy you're putting out there. So for example, let's say you have, and we all have this or have had this at one point, I'm sure, if you have ever had an employer and your boss, your team leader, or your manager, or somebody who works above you in the hierarchy of the company is a real jerk. You know, those ones that like to do as I say, not as I do. You know, you're never working hard enough while they're putting their feet up. That kind of thing. Or we just know the ones that, or they depreciate you constantly, and they're just horrible, horrible, horrible individuals at the time. So anyway, now you have a lot of emotion, and that emotion could be anger. It could be sadness, depression. It could be frustration, but normally these individuals would have incited some sort of, they would have triggered your emotional body somehow. Now, I can channel, I can express myself by walking up to this person and punch him in the chin. Now, that is a release of energy, but it's not a good one. You will then create a negative antimatter reaction to you, which will be, you're fired. Or maybe they'll punch you right back. You never know, but it's not going to be something of positivity. However, if you chose to channel that energy in a more productive way, such as, I'm not saying let them get away with it, but asserting yourself in terms of saying, no, I won't be treated that way. I'm going to tell you all about yourself in a respectful but professional way. And then we're going to take this further if we need to. I meant like HR or something, not outside. But if you are able to channel that energy, because you still have the energy of the frustration and the rage, and but if you're focusing it into a positive channel that will get you things you want, why wouldn't you want this? Now, expressing yourself also, you know, like a lot of people express their emotions through art as well. If you are welled up in love and happiness, you may feel the need to bake cakes for everybody, and that's wonderful. You may feel the need to teach young kids and do finger painting and everything. That's fantastic. You may choose to, you know, help the elderly or people with special needs or something like that, just volunteering, because you are channeling your emotional energy into those avenues of those positivity, and you will gain back from it. So that's number 2. The third thing that you will need to care for your emotional body is constant positive reinforcement or programming. I will say and constant, yeah. And should I really put the... Yes. So positive and constant programming is what you want to do. And that positive programming for your emotional body comes from reassurance for your body. So for example, if you are feeling tears come up because you've watched Mufasa in The Lion King pass away, and you're just like, wait a second, this is so very sad, but is it worth the energy of really crying? Because that energy is still going to cost you. So what you would do is, not trying to be cold-hearted on Mufasa, I cried myself. But at that point, you would then have to remind yourself and reassure your emotional body that, you know what, it's a sad story, but this is also a cartoon. It's a drawing that's moving in a lot of frames, and it's not real. So you can tell your emotional body, it's cool, we're fine. We don't need to get upset. Also, this is a great, if you are aware of this knowledge, if you are somebody who does struggle with anger issues, and it's harder for you to stop that pulsing rage of anger from firing up inside you. If you are one of those individuals, you need to constantly reassure yourself by telling yourself, I'm fine, I'm calm, I'm in control of this. You know, just reassuring, like, sometimes you're going to have to look over the entire situation, and you're going to ask yourself, is this worth getting mad about? Is it worth doing it? And the answer will no doubt be no. And so you then have to keep everything, it's that constant reassurance. If you find that every time your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, whenever they go out and they're not with you, and you have these feelings of abandonment because they're with a friend, you have to, again, reinforce your emotional body, or reassure your emotional body that's like, it's okay. I'm secure. I'm fine. There's no need to be upset right now, or to be worried, or to be anxious. So it's that constant reassurance. As soon as you feel the feeling, reassure yourself that everything's cool, because you will program positive things into your life. And that's how you can get balance with your conscious body as well. Is your emotional body and your conscious body will start to align when you can calm yourself and reassure yourself down. Reassure yourself that everything's cool. And the last one is stay as positive as possible in your conscious mind. Oh, my writing is terrible. I feel for you guys. Anyway, stay as positive as you can, because again, that is a part of the positive programming. If you are staying positive in your mind, in your consciousness every day, and I don't mean that you have to, I don't mean positive as in, you bury your head in the sand and you just ignore everything that's around you because you're like, I'm happy. That's not being positive. That's being avoiding. That's not processing your feelings. So what I mean by positive is you're just feeling really good. You feel really light. You feel happy. If somebody says, hey, your tire was, you went out and saw your car and your tire was flat, and you're like, oh, I need to get to work though, instead of going, oh, this is such a shitty day, and oh my God, my tire's blown out and everything, you go like, you know what, it's a lovely day out, I'm going to take the bus. And you call work and you be like, hey, I'm sorry, my tire's flattened, but it's okay, I'm on my way. I didn't realize. I'll get it sorted another day, but I'm coming on in. I'm just letting you know. Just doing that, but just keeping it really positive and in your minds, not panicking and not immediately going to the negative scenario. So whatever life throws at you, you just kind of you process it, you understand it, and you're just like, you know what? It's a game. It's fine. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm alive, I have all my arms, fingers, toes, my nose, like you're good, you're healthy, the people you love in your life are healthy and alive. So it's just like, you just got to look at the positive things. Now, when you do that, it means that even though when a negative situation comes up in your life, and you're able to look at that negative situation as positive, you're programming your emotional body to associate positive things with this negative situation. And because your emotional body is saying, hey, we're still okay, it's all right, then you don't react and you stay in control. Because if a negative situation comes about and you don't reassure your emotional body that everything's cool and you're just thinking all of negative thoughts, your emotional body's going to then freaking panic and just be like, oh shit, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Oh my God, everything's falling apart. And then you start crying or you start getting angry and you don't know what to do, and then you lose control, and again, which leads to negative actions. So again, we've got, number one, don't suppress your feelings. Let it flow. Let that energy flow. Get it out of you. Express yourself using a positive outlet. Try to stay in control on this one, but flow that energy in a positive way. Positive and constant programming of yourself, telling yourself that, hey, affirmations are great for this, by the way. Constantly telling yourself that, hey, I I'm happy, I'm grateful, I'm in love, I love everything. I love everything, I love everybody. Constantly saying these things to yourself, you are programming with affirmations it in. Just as you program in negativity, you program in positivity. And if you tell yourself every single day, 10 times a day, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, within a certain amount of time, depending on how heavy your programming for the opposite was, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, I'm beautiful, I'm fabulous. Or you're going to, you don't want to live in the future with your affirmations, so you don't want to say things like, I own a mansion, I own a mansion, I own a mansion, because that's not the way it works. You're living in the future. You're saying the thought of I own a mansion, but you're not feeling it on the inside because you don't own a mansion just yet, because you're asking for it. So instead, you want to shift that to the things that will get you a mansion. So instead of wishing for a mansion or saying I have a mansion, you want to say, I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful, because it is that gratitude, that feeling that you have of gratefulness, that will get you the mansion. So it's affirmations. They're really good. They're really good. And using the word I am in your affirmations is a very powerful phrase. It's a very simple phrase, but it's a very powerful phrase, and it will work on that one. And lastly, you want to stay as positive in your conscious mind as you can to keep your emotional body stable. So positivity. It's all positive, positive, positive. Alrighty. And let's just quickly now go through the don'ts, although I think I went through a lot of the don'ts as I was going through the do's. But we'll see what we got here for the don'ts. We'll shorten it if I've already went in this. Oh, yes. Okay. So with it's not really the don'ts. It is just, again, just things to watch out for. Now, I have mentioned a few things already. So my first one is, whenever you feel that your emotional body is just bubbling up and you don't know what's happening, or you don't know why you're feeling this, you physically need to ask yourself, why do I feel like this right now? And I mean, as if you were going to talk to somebody else, you need to talk to yourself the same way. So you can even say, like, if I was emotionally bubbled up, and I was emotionally just like not in control of my emotional body, I'd be like, Clip, why are you upset? Clip, is it really worth you being upset right now? And I'd no doubt say, no, it's not, because it's going to cost me this much in the long run, and so forth like that. And it's a way of logically, reassuring your emotional body that everything's fine. But you need to be able to ask yourself why. As soon as you start hear the feeling, when the feeling starts, you got to ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? Because a lot of times we don't ask. We just react. Oh, I'm sad. But we don't even know we're sad. Sometimes we're not sad, we're just frustrated. Sometimes we're not angry, we're just concerned and or a little irate. Or maybe we're just hangry, like we just need some food. You never know. Like, you need to be able to identify or ask yourself questions as to why you are feeling things that don't make you feel good. I've went through always give positive. Okay, I can't be able to spell it right. But always give positive reinforcement. Again, we went through this. And also, on the flip side, because you're programming your body for positivity, subsequently, you're also programming your subconscious to be cool too, because your subconscious is where all the long-term stuff gets stored, and it's much harder for the average person to access their subconscious without the use of cognizance or their abilities. But it's really difficult to access your subconscious while still staying in your conscious body. And the last thing you want to do is you don't want to program in fear or sadness or a reaction to a certain situation triggered by your emotional body. Because then what will happen is your subconscious at times then, if your emotional body could be absolutely fine, but your subconscious will be like, oh, I saw that over there. Quick, emotional body, turn yourself on. And then all of a sudden your emotional body is like, oh crap, like, what's wrong? And you start to panic, and whatever that emotion that you've created will just come out. So again, you don't want to be programming negativity in, because it not only affects your conscious mind, but your subconscious and your emotional body. And it's like everything's kind of interlinked. So that's not going to be good then. So, and lastly, you need to always seek balance. You constantly need to be balancing your emotional body with your conscious body and with your subconscious body. But we're going to be going through subconscious in the next video. The imbalanced emotional body, though, what that results in is a lot of mental disorders such as bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, and so many more. But it is a result of your emotional body being triggered, and you can't seem to get it back under control. That's why it's like walking on eggshells around people who are bipolar, or who are not, if they are not managing their bipolarism. It can be very, very exhausting. And it's not only exhausting for the person who is around them, because it is like walking on eggshells. It's exhausting for the person going through it. Because it's just like, imagine you've just been crying uncontrollably, or you've just felt like you're at your lowest point, and your body feels heavy and you feel tired because your mind, all that pressure, all that energy is just swirls inside of you over and over and over again. And it's like, go on a roller coaster, but don't get off for 5 hours. You're going to start, you're just exhausted. You're exhausted. So it is imperative that you are able to balance or maintain balance within your emotional body for the health of your everything as well. So, and you can do that by, of course, just doing the do's all the time. Just keep doing the do's and asking yourself why, and always giving that positive reassurance, and you'll get it. If you do suffer from things like bipolarism, or a borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, and so forth, please feel free to email me a little bit, your full name and a little bit about you. And I can help you, because again, with my cognizance, I can help you to access your subconscious to see what your triggers may be. Because when you know your trigger, you can also find your off switch. So you don't have to go through days, hours, or whatnot in a negative state. So please, by all means, sourcetruth@outlook.com. It's also in the description on the channel pages, so you can have a look at that. But that is your emotional body do's and don'ts. The next section we're going to do is your subconscious body, and that one is, well, the last two is your subconscious and your source fractal body, and these two are kind of a two peas in the pod, or if you've watched The Matrix, it's like Neo and Agent Smith. They come together a little bit, so that's going to be an interesting one. But anyway, that's for next time.